While diplomatic efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict continue to face many obstacles, conflicting statements from both sides once again reflect the complexity of the negotiation process. On July 1st, the Kremlin rejected the claim by U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy for Ukraine that Russia is delaying peace talks, stating that Moscow has implemented all agreements reached so far in the negotiations. Specifically, Envoy Keith Kellogg said that Russia cannot continue to delay time while bombing civilian targets in Ukraine.
We are grateful for the efforts made by Washington and members of the Trump's team in order to facilitate negotiations on the Ukrainian settlement. As you know, the next step is to coordinate the dates of the third round. Well, the next step is to get together when they agree, and all previous humanitarian agreements will be fulfilled. They will gather, they will continue to discuss. No one is delaying anything here. We are naturally in favor, first of all, of achieving the goals that we are trying to achieve through this special military operation via political and diplomatic means. Therefore, we are not interested in drawing out anything. To tell the truth, I will refrain. I will not assess the speed of negotiations because the implementation of the agreements that have been reached so far during the two rounds takes time. It takes time and requires certain preparative measures to carry out exchanges, to organize the transfer and reception of corpses. These are time-consuming operations. So objectively, it is difficult to talk about the possibility of some kind of strong speed-up of negotiations. No one stops or slows down the work on the implementation of the agreements.
Previously, President Putin stated that Russia is ready to hold a new round of peace talks with Ukraine, possibly in Istanbul, although the time and place have not yet been agreed upon.
As expected, nothing unexpected happened. I won't tell you anything unexpected. These are two absolutely opposite memoranda, but negotiations are organized and conducted in order to find ways to get closer. The fact that they were directly opposite, I think, is also not surprising. I would not like to go into detail because I consider it harmful to precede the negotiations themselves. As for what was done as a result of the negotiations, I think you can see for yourself today, I believe another exchange took place. And it is important. This humanitarian component is significant because it creates conditions for, as diplomats say, for a substantive discussion of the essence of the problem. We agreed that we would continue further contacts after the completion of the exchanges and after the humanitarian action that we proposed, namely, is a transfer of the bodies of our fallen servicemen. We have already given over 6,000 bodies and are ready to give almost 3,000 more. But it is up to the Ukrainian side to accept the bodies of its fallen soldiers. We agreed that after this stage is completed, we will hold a third round of negotiations. In general, we are ready for this. We need to agree on the place and time. I expect that the President of the Turkish Republic, Mr. Erdogan, remains on his position of supporting this process. We are very grateful to him for this. We are ready to hold such a meeting in Istanbul, but when exactly, this is for the heads of the negotiating groups from both sides to decide. And they, by the way, are in constant operational contact with each other. They constantly call each other, and in my opinion, this is already good. They are now agreeing on the time of the next meeting. And what will be the subject of the meeting? The subject, in my opinion, should be the discussion of memoranda from both sides.
–
with the conflict showing no signs of de-escalating. According to Ukraine's Deep State Military Analysis Group, Russia took control of an additional 556 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory in June, the largest gain since the beginning of the year. The organization also recalled that in the most difficult month, last November, Ukraine lost about 730 square kilometers of territory. A specific analysis shows that Russia's largest advances were recorded on the Novopavlivka and Pokrovsk fronts, accounting for 29% and 27% respectively of the total area they gained in Ukraine this past June. Sumy province was also among the top 3 regions with the most territory lost, accounting for 18%. Thus, these 3 regions account for 3/4 of the total area Russia gained in June, with the remainder distributed evenly across other fronts, each accounting for about 4 to 6%. Deep state experts noted that Russia's current momentum is driven by manpower shortages that are becoming a serious problem for both sides. Despite facing equipment and personnel problems, Russia is still able to advance due to a larger pool of human resources compared to Ukraine. According to Deep State, the number of mechanized attacks has decreased compared to before. The Deep State report stated that enemy attacks consisting of only 1 to 3 infantry soldiers are no longer a surprise, and the number of such small assault groups is quite high. It is estimated that Russia currently controls about 20% of Ukraine's territory. Moscow continues to demand that Ukraine recognize Russia's sovereignty over the Crimean Peninsula and 4 provinces, including Lugansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, even though it does not completely control these territories. Recently, Russia has intensified its offensive operations, targeting the northeastern region of Ukraine to implement its plan to establish a security buffer zone inside Ukrainian territory along the Russian border. The Sumy region has now become a new hotspot in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, as both sides deploy their most elite forces to the area to gain an advantage. Russia claims its summer campaign is yielding results in the Sumy direction, inflicting heavy losses on Ukraine. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine recently acknowledged the loss of control over some areas in the northern part of Sumy province. A map of the current combat situation, clearly showing the relevant territories, was posted on the official Facebook page of the General Staff of Ukraine. According to the latest map, the Ukrainian army no longer controls the areas around the localities of Vodolagi, Basovka, Lakhnia, Novenkwaye, and Belovoldi in Sumy. Previously published maps, especially the update on June 30, still showed these areas as being under Ukrainian control. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha has previously called on partners to impose stricter sanctions on Russia and use other diplomatic measures to force Russia to peace, to force Russia to negotiate.
Another sleepless night in Kyiv, another heavy missile attack on Ukrainian civilian targets, many casualties, 7 people killed. So that's the real response of Russian side on all peace efforts, on all peace proposals. Putin, he is a war maker. So it's a proper time to engage all diplomatic instruments to raise the price for further Russian aggression. Again, it's a proper time to use all diplomatic instruments to force Russia to peace, to force Russia to negotiate. They have no reasons to sit around negotiation table. So once again, sanctions, isolation, frozen assets.
On the Russian side, its military claimed control of the village of Novenkoye in early March, Basovka in early April, and Lakhnia, Belovodi, and Vodolagi in late May. This is a rare occasion where Kyiv has publicly shown on a map the loss of territorial control in certain areas, in the context of escalating combat on the Sumy front and Russia's intensified military activities there. While the parties called for the resumption of negotiations and humanitarian exchanges as part of the peace process, the reality of the fighting in the Sumy region and many areas in the east still poses enormous challenges. With both sides declaring readiness for dialogue but still maintaining a tense posture on the battlefield, the future of a third round of negotiations, if held, will be strongly influenced by the current military situation and political pressure.